All right, guys. So I'm a little behind on the Johnny Somali case. We got Legal Mindset with a video that came out about 16 hours ago. Our case against Johnny Somali. Curious to see what it is. I also saw that he just released another video about Johnny Somali like 3 hours ago, so really fresh. I might watch that one today as well. We'll see. So it might be a double feature today, but we're gonna start out with this one. All right, Legal Mindset, take it away.
Johnny Somali, aka Ramsay Kaleed Ismael, is going to be sentenced on April 15th. And today we're going to go over the evidence that...
For the record, as of the day of recording, today is April 7th. So it's April 15th is coming up pretty quick.
We submitted, myself, the Somali conviction team, as we call them, and show you guys the case we built against Somali and the points that we think matter right now in the sentencing of Ramsay Kaleed Ismael.
Interesting. I wasn't aware that he was actually submitting anything into the case. I know he's had a big problem with Johnny Somali for a long time and been trying to bring attention to his wild antics and get some justice for the people that he's harassed and abused. So I guess it doesn't really surprise me that he's submitting something, but let's see.
Seoul, South Korea. This is, of course, Legal Mindset. We teach you to be your own judge. I'm Andrew Esquire, American attorney who's been covering this case from the beginning. This will be a little bit longer as we're going to go over a lot of the details, the logic, and some of the supporting evidence we submitted in this case. And this is something we started submitting back on April 1st of 2025. That's right. This time last year, the evidence was in. We did that because we wanted the judge and the prosecutor to be considering a lot of this evidence and a lot of this wrongdoing, a lot of the thought of Johnny Somali as they pursued their litigation strategy, as they pursued their recommended sentence, which was 3 years by the prosecutor in February. And we wanted to make sure that was in timely before Johnny Somali did any sort of apology or settlement or anything else. And we correctly predicted in our submission that he would attempt those things, which...
Well, that's what he did in Japan, is that he was, well, I think he was sentenced and then he apologized or something. They basically let him off. They reduced the sentence down to basically nothing. Am I remembering that right? Yeah, he apologized and said how sorry he was, that he would never do it again, and blah, 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 blah. And then he left Japan and started bragging about how he lied to them and how he wasn't telling the truth. And of course he's going to keep doing it. And he was just doing it for clout and like grade A moron behavior. So yeah, I hope they don't let him off the hook this time. I hope an apology doesn't sway anyone in the sentencing, because he doesn't mean it. He has proven himself that he will not stop his behavior without actual consequences.
He has now attempted a settlement with Youngman, a Korean streamer, of which he had a deepfake charge. And then he also attempted to send a letter of apology after the formal trial was over in February. So you can see the actual USB submitted there, the documents that were submitted there in Korean back in April of last year. What is this about? Well, really in South Korea, in the South Korean criminal justice system, it is very important to have reflection, remorse, and reconciliation. So the offender's remorse or lack thereof heavily influences prosecutions, sentencing, and the overall approach to justice. So if you can look at Johnny Somali's level of remorse, you can see it is 0. We actually have here a clip of Johnny Somali talking about the exact level of remorse he has.
My question is basically to Johnny. What I would like to know is if he has any regrets for what he has been doing over the past few years, especially what's been going on in South Korea.
Zero regrets, zero remorse.
So you have 0 remorse for what you've done.
Tell me what I've done. Tell me what I've done that I should be remorseful for, C42. Tell me.
You haven't watched your own videos and all the other shit that you've done over the couple of years. You haven't seen anything. You haven't watched anything.
No, whenever I see clips of it, I laugh my ass off. It's funny.
So Johnny Somali...
Yeah, he obviously doesn't have any remorse for it, or at least at the time that was recorded. I wonder how far along in the proceedings that was. Like, maybe he was trying to avoid saying that he's remorseful, because in some ways saying you're remorseful means you're admitting guilt, and he was still trying to avoid getting a guilty charge. That could be, but like, again, I'm not entirely sure on the timeline there. But he's even if he had fallen on his knees crying and begging and saying he was remorseful, he's proven through this being a repeated action and going through it with other countries that he's not, and that his apologies shouldn't be trusted anyways.
He has zero remorse. That's the words of Johnny Somali. So what impact does that have on the sentencing? Well, a defendant's genuine remorse and efforts to reconcile with the victims are crucial mitigating factors when determining punishment. Courts consider the level of submission, i.e. the letters of reflection, as evidence of repentance, which can lead to reduced or suspended sentence. A shift towards sincerity. So in Korean law, it recognizes crimes where if the victim reconciles with the offender and explicitly states that they do not wish for punishment, the case can be dropped. Korean courts scrutinize apology letters closely to distinguish between sincere repentance and empty gestures, particularly in sex offenses, to prevent misuse. So in this case, Ramsay said, March 2025, just like you heard, zero remorse, zero regrets. Tell me what I have done that I should be remorseful for. February 2026, he says, I'm uploading the old videos so people can watch it and be like, this guy is annoying, but he didn't really do anything. He's chimping out. But who did he harm? Like, there's no damage. February 27, 2026, he goes into court and says, I sincerely apologize for my actions in Korea. I expressed remorse for the incident for which I was charged. I did not realize how serious the consequences of these actions, which would not be considered criminal in the United States, could be in Korea. March 17th, Ramsay submits his first and only letter of reflection post-trial. The trial, as in the case in chief, is done. The submission of evidence should have already been done. It's only waiting on the sentencing at that point. Super late submission.
I really like that Andrew here brings the receipts, full date and everything leading up to it. Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate the deep investigative work, making it very evident for us.
There. And you can see that, compared to Korean streamer Jungman, who submitted 7 letters of reflection during trial and 1 post-trial. Johnny had zero from the time his trial began in March of last year, 2025, until it ended, the case in chief, in February 27, 2026. He submitted none. He only submitted it after, while he's waiting for sentencing. That's...
All right, I know this is completely unrelated, or like doesn't matter, but that cricket meme, come on, that is so like corporate, like, I don't know, it's so corporate, so like lawyer-y to be like, this cricket that's scratching his head, that's the picture we'll use. I don't know, it's very like corporate sanitized. Putting that in a YouTube video feels a little silly. I have to wonder, is that actually in the stuff that you submitted? What do you guys think? Do you think he actually submitted his documents with this little cricket drawing in there? I don't know why that's just so funny to me.
That's completely abnormal and doesn't show sincere reflection. Now let's talk about a suspended sentence. Now, Johnny Somali indeed knows what a suspended sentence is. In fact, he's made comments about a suspended sentence and how he desires for a suspended sentence and wants to get a suspended sentence, right? But what he doesn't know is suspended sentences are not something that is just thrown out willy-nilly in Korea. It's not something that's very easy to get, that just you can get no matter what. There are certain conditions which the judge may decide upon a suspended sentence. And if they're convicted, but the prison sentence is not served immediately, the defendant doesn't go to court unless he is convicted of another crime within the set period, i.e. 2 years. So the conditions are the sentence to imprisonment with or without labor of 3 years or less. So in this case, yes, that one would apply, right? The sentence was not more than 3 years, so technically he can still get this. But what else? First time offense, okay. Johnny's first time offense technically, although he's got more than one charge. The last 3 are the problem.
Wait, so do you know the sentencing? I thought that the sentencing was still to happen. to imprisonment with or without labor of 3 years or less. I thought that 3 years was kind of the like somewhere in the minimum or near the minimum that he could get. Am I that out of the loop on the Johnny Somali case that I don't realize that the sentencing is done? Didn't he just say earlier that the sentencing was happening on the 15th? God, I'm confused, man. Okay, all right. And he said first time offense, like you said, that tracks sort of, but multiple charges for it. And let's hear him talk about the other three.
Sincere remorse. That has not been expressed at all whatsoever. Victim does not want punishment as a result of the settlement. That's not true. The victims, in fact, have submitted letters saying they want extreme punishment, that they really want punishment here. And last is understandable motive. In this case, Johnny Somali's motive has been absolutely vile. It's been to cause, chaos, get clout, get money. That's the motive here. And that's not what we call an understandable motive in this case, and something that they're going to say, hey, we're thinking this is permissive. We're thinking that this is something that's okay for you to do because you had this other reason. No, he actually doesn't care at all. And once again, he thinks that he's done absolutely nothing wrong and continued to attack the judge even. Let's hear what he said to the judge.
Oh,
Shout
gosh.
out to President, you fuck the judge, fuck the prosecutor, y'all can suck my dick, big ass niggas. Yeah. Suck my dick on soft. Tell them what the charges is. Fuck
What?
Carrying a fish, tell them.
Carrying a fish and causing anxiety.
Causing anxiety by carrying a fish. Tell the judge you can suck my dick. I'll bring a fish to your mother's house, bitch.
So
I don't
threatening
Oh,
to
my
bring a
God.
fish to the judge's
How is that man so insufferable?
mother's house. Definitely no remorse there.
Like, what in the world happens in your life to get you to that position? Like, was he born that way, or was this some sort of like childhood trauma? Like, I don't know if it's a lack of intelligence or just a lack of morals or what. Like, I don't understand what in life navigates you down this path to end up being Johnny Somali.
When he's threatening to bring a fish to the mother's house, he's threatening the judge, the prosecutor, saying he doesn't care about the system. That doesn't fit in with the conditions in which you normally hand out a suspended sentence. That's why in the case we made to them, we said under no circumstance should you have that suspended sentence. And once again, this is something that we dropped off with them, with both the prosecutor and the judge. You can see the stamps there, the seals, the timestamps, all that's good stuff submitted last year. So we focused in this submission and the evidence that we dropped on certain things and not on other things. We focus on his lack of remorse, the glorification of his own crimes, the contempt for the Korean criminal justice system, attempts to reach fraudulent settlements with victims and deceive the court, continuing harassment and criminal behavior. We did not focus on international incidents. So I know some people thought that we may focus on Japan and Israel, and while I do bring those up from time to time, those aren't conclusive in a Korean court. Korea is not going to sentence him based on what he did in Japan or Israel or America or anywhere else.
I suppose that makes sense, though I do think that his history in Japan, and I'm not sure about his history in Israel, I haven't known anything about that, but I do think that his history in Japan is good background context for at least disproving his any sort of attempt at for a lighter sentence, trying to claim that he feels sorry for it, because he's proven that that's just not the case through that. So I think there's some context for including stuff about international incidents, though he already does touch on his lack of remorse. So I guess that's covered. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not participating in this. I'm just a weird bear man on your screen watching from the outside, and at sometimes laughing at the consequences that Johnny Somali is going to be facing, the consequences to his own actions that he's brought upon himself. I think that's kind of funny. There's some schadenfreude there, but sorry to any German watchers. I don't think I have many German watchers, but sorry to any of you German watchers at my terrible pronunciation of German. Man, I sure can't speak today. It's one of those mornings.
We also didn't bring up threats to defamation of justice officials or streamers or others, or anything else not related directly to the court case. So we didn't bring up a lot of the irrelevant stuff, even though there's a lot of really horrible stuff he's done. Now, The premise is that the defendant is not sorry, so he continues to express extreme insults towards the court and the judicial system of the Republic of Korea. He publicly humiliates and defames his victims in an effort to intimidate them into reaching a transactional and fraudulent settlement. Even during the ongoing trial, the defendant continued to engage in inappropriate and criminal behavior outside the courtroom, including what we had submitted another charge regarding child sexual harassment when he was literally harassing minors online. The defendant continues to harass and cause anxiety to ordinary passersby without justifiable reason, and he's been doing that over and over again, even after he was charged with those crimes. So the call to action is we ask that the prosecutors in the court give the maximum penalty available under the law with no suspended sentence. Excluding any possibility of a suspended sentence, imprisonment is mandatory. You can see that he thinks he's going to get away. He thinks he's going to go to America, and we cannot allow him to have that. Also, to reject all settlements, which excludes any victim settlement agreements from sentencing consideration. And I think both of these things are important. Once again, Ramsay Kaleed Ismael thinks he's going to get away light. If you hear him just recently, he actually thought that if he pled guilty earlier, he'd already be back in America.
If I would have pleaded guilty to everything, I'm 100% telling you guys, I would have been in America already. I would have been in America already right now. If I would have just pled guilty to everything, I would have been in America right now.
Now, this is very funny because, of course, back in August of 2020.
Korea, you can keep them. Honestly, we don't need them back here. Quick video interruption. I've been putting out at least one video a day. If I brought you any enjoyment, I would appreciate if you would like, subscribe, and leave a comment. I do read all of them. Thanks. Back to the video.
I said on my live stream, Johnny Somali, if you want to go home quicker, plead guilty and say you're sorry genuinely and compensate the victims. If you do all of those things, all of them, you will be back earlier, right? I said that in August, and I said that, hey, you could have got this done in 2025. He, of course, didn't listen. He said I was full of shit. He said he's going to fight it till the end. He's going to fight the deepfakes no matter what. He's going to just fight that because he doesn't want that on his record, and he's scared of that, etc. There might be real jail time. Now he's coping that he's just going to be back in America. He would have been back in America.
Not going to happen.
So once again, more cope from Johnny Somali. So continuing on, here's what we submitted. We submitted a statement from a professor, Professor Ulrich Nod. We gave source video guide with URLs. We submitted compilation video of the defendant's statements proving his lack of remorse and contempt for the court. We submitted a clip of the defendant revealing a strategy to intimidate Bong Bong into a fraudulent settlement and deceive the court. We also have a clip of Ramsay entering the court building on March 7th, 2025, and 5 complete VODs streamed live in March of 2025. So this is all stuff from last year, which gives the defendant's background, Ramsay's background. We define terms like IRL streaming, nuisance streaming, desktop streaming. We explain the text-to-speech messages, and we explain the background of the submitter who was part of the Somali conviction team. Why do we need prison? Well, prison is really important here because the defendant's deliberate escalation of public harassment and sustained premeditated mockery of the Korean judicial system demands the severest statutory response. The defendant has repeatedly made it clear he doesn't care about financial penalties, fines. Fines could even be crowdfunded by the defendant's fan base, rendering them utterly ineffective as a deterrent.
Yep.
Documented digital evidence proves that the defendant Somali attempts at settlement were coercive, transactional legal strategies entirely devoid of genuine remorse.
I don't know how he has a fan base at this point. Like, I genuinely don't understand the people liking to watch him harass people. Is it just, it can't just be kids, right? It's not just like a bunch of teenagers, like 13-year-olds that are like, funny guy does something stupid and funny. Because they're donating money to him. Like, he does it for the donations. So unless there's a bunch of 13-year-olds out there that I'm unaware of with credit cards and are able to be donating money, I don't see how that can't be his only fan base. Who are these people that watch him and enjoy his content? I would love to have a conversation with someone that actually likes and enjoys his content at some point, to like pick their brain and try and figure out what's going on there. Like, I'm not saying that they're not human or that there's some like obscure thing. I'm just like, I genuinely don't understand what there is that's I don't understand. I guess there's some people, I know some people watch his stream because they want him to get in trouble. They like egging him on because they want to see him punished. So they donate to him to push him further to mess up Johnny's life, which, come on now, guys, that's pretty evil of you. Come on. But yeah, that guy is, I don't understand. I'm lost for words. How do you watch that and think it's enjoyable?
And you can see this contempt in what happened on March 7th last year. So this shows hostility before, during, and after the first trial. So from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m., he was drunk. He was drunk before the trial, live streaming from his sole apartment, drinking heavily, vomiting, saying, getting ready for court while drinking. How many shots do I owe the viewers? Then he arrives at the courthouse 1 hour late, intoxicated. And when confronted by Korean press, he says, F you, B word, N word, right? Suck my D. I love Kim Jong-un. And then after, at 12 o'clock, he goes on for a post-trial celebration. Audio from the taxi departing the courthouse. He's laughing hysterically. He said, do you accept the charges? And he said, suck my D. Now, he didn't actually say that in court. He was BSing. He was lying. He was making that up. He did not say that in court. I was there for that one. The defendant's statements, actions, and statements immediately prior to the first trial. So here you go, which is his talking about the insanity plea, which is where the inside joke comes from. But he said, when I go to the judge tomorrow and say, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm mentally ill. I don't know what's going on. I have bipolar disorder. And what may I do? I left my medication in America. I don't know what's happening, Your Honor. Please, please help me. I'm a psychopath. I plead mentally ill. And they say, okay, go home with a fine of $500. Well, first of all, he never actually made that statement in court. He talked big. He bragged. The whole trial is over. Everything's over. He never once actually used an insanity plea or anything else in court. That was complete tough talk. That was complete him acting tough.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would have given that a second thought. Nobody would have believed that.
He never said anything about that in court. But one thing we put in our submission, based on that comment he made on live stream, which we submitted to the court, we said bipolar has many known symptoms, but causing anxiety in public, interfering with business, and distributing sexual deepfakes is not among them. So he had very, very really rude comments about the Asian courtroom system. He said, low key, let me tell you how to play the Asian courtroom. I'm going to tell the B in the court, look, to the victim, I'm sorry, sorry. To the victim, I'm sorry, sorry. And then he laughed and said, to the N-words on the bus, I'm sorry. To the statue I R-worded, that the statue I graped, I'm sorry. Baby, please forgive me. I'm going to hit a little K-pop dance, shake my ass one time, and they're going to have to let it go if I spit that flow. He goes on to say, tomorrow the judge is trying to charge me for carrying a fish in a bag in public. Carrying a fish in a bag in public. And asking someone, do you want to eat the fish? How is that a crime? Come on, tell me what kind of respecting judge is going to take that seriously? Well, that's only...
If that was actually the story, if it was actually just as he said it, then he's right. That shouldn't be illegal to ask someone if they want to eat a fish. But the problem for him is that he recorded everything. He live streamed everything. He knows that's not the full story. He knows he was harassing people with that fish. Like, come on. Man, does he think that he's just going to gaslight his fans and somehow that's just going to make it better or whatever? I don't understand what this is. I don't understand how he functions. I know I've said that like 100 times already this video. I don't understand, but his mind is one that I just cannot wrap my head around. I can't seem to put myself in his shoes. Help me.
One of the crimes of sorry to tell you, Ramsay Kaleed Ismael, but that fish is one. There's several others, including saying vulgar sexual messages in front of children at Lotte World. You had an obstruction of business charge for that. That's in there as well. There's a bunch of other things disrupting people on the metro, bus, other places.
Didn't he have his TT or text to speech on full blast while he was on either a bus or a train, and the text-to-speech was yelling out very loudly in Korean, I have a bomb? Like, come on. You really think that you're just not going to get stopped or arrested for that sort of stuff?
7/11 incident, and then the deep fakes on top of all of that. So March 7th, he was late, of course. He had a golden opportunity to express his remorse to the Korean people, but what he decided to do was curse them out. He said the F word. They asked him, do you admit the charges? He said, F you, B. Is there anything else you want to say? Suck my D. Do you admit the charges? F you. Don't you want to apologize? I love North Korea. I love Kim Jong-un. That's what he had to say. That's what he had to say. And then you look at the next day. He goes and downplays the entire judicial process. He says it really wasn't that big of a deal. I showed up drunk. I showed up happy. Like the charges that they have me for are such minor, minuscule charges. But they got me for spilling a cup of noodles. They got me for carrying a stinky fish. They got me for BS, bro. Like, you can't go to jail for any of that in any country. I know for a fact I'm not going to jail, not one day for jail. I have footage of me and Hank leaving the court laughing our asses off. We're not going to take this seriously. And then saying, you're not going...
Openly admitting that you're not taking the court case seriously. Did he have, like, the worst lawyer in the world, or did he just ignore everything that his lawyer said? Because everybody knows... First thing lawyer's going to tell you is to shut up about the case. You don't speak about it. You know, you gotta keep your lips zipped until it's all over and done with. And sometimes even then there's stuff in place preventing you from speaking about it, or it might be unwise to speak about it after it's done. But like him, he dug his own grave. He can't stop digging. Maybe that's it. Maybe he thinks, so if you dig a hole in America, you'll end up in China if you go all the way through the earth. Maybe he is confused about where he is, and he thinks Korea is China, and if he digs and keeps on digging this hole, he'll somehow pop out in America. Maybe that's his thought. It's a stupid plan, but maybe that's his plan.
In jail, you spilled a cup of noodles, you carried a fish, you played some music, you're an American citizen. What are they going to do to me? Well, they can throw you in jail, Rams. He goes back to IRL streaming, right? Talks about and downplays all of this, saying the fish stream was legendary, saying apparently it's a crime in Korea to cause anxiety, saying Trump's going to save you. Well, that didn't play out, right?
No,
Trump didn't save him.
Trump didn't save
and then
him.
saying he's back, right? So once again, celebrating after trial. So the point is, as the trial is over, he's celebrating, he's happy, he's downplaying the criminal system. Just before 11 p.m., defendant entered a hookah bar to harass other IRL streamers, a male and female, right? Remember that slightly homeless, Anana. The man repeatedly said, go away, and the defendant broke a bottle of soju he recently purchased. Without cleaning it up, he said, who cares? F that shit, they're going to pick it up, and went to buy another drink. He then followed and stalked them, right? The two of them, those streamers, right, for 10 minutes, yelling comments such as Hiroshima, Nagasaki, and Nakadashi, which means cream pie in Japan, to a woman who is Japanese. The woman yelled stalker and police, and the accused said, call those bitch. Eventually, the woman broke away, went to the police station, and filed a complaint against the defendant, right? The defendant fled the scene. About 2 hours later, the defendant started desktop streaming. Being aware the defendants had recently filed a criminal complaint, the defendant asked a Korean friend to call the police to clarify. The friend said they're trying to investigate you for causing anxiety. And then Ramsay, RKA, shouts into the phone where the police are on the other end, shut the F up, you bitch, effing N-word, and then hangs up the phone, right? And he takes pride in that and pride in underestimating the system. So I have a request to exclude any settlement with the victim. So with Bong Bong or with Youngman, we put in...
For the sake of Korea as a whole, South Korea as a whole, I really hope you do throw the book at him. I hope you give him a harsh punishment, because you can't be allowing these people to be running rampant. I wish that there was a way for him to be locked up for quite a long time. I don't want Korea to have to deal with the worst that's coming out of America. I think we probably should have done something about him before he left the country, to be honest. He was causing plenty of trouble here to begin with. Please, for your own sake, throw the book at him and make an example of him so that you don't have any more people turning your country into, as Asmongold would say, a PvP server.
there a comment that they should not take that seriously. Now, there was no settlement with Bong Bong, but he did get one with Youngman. And the important thing to note is that the charges weren't dropped with Youngman. But he says here when he's talking about Bong Bong, he says, and that B Bong Bong from Kick, that's trying to charge me. Let's say we hit that B with a Uno reverse charge. She's trying to charge me for a deepfake. Sex is so stupid. You're claiming I showed an AI meme on stream and I'm guilty of deepfake. Well, she showed the same AI, so she's guilty too. I sent that report. I'm petty. You're not going to charge me and I'm not going to charge you. Well, guess what? They didn't charge Bong Bong at all. They only charged Ramsay. So that little Uno reverse did not work at all whatsoever. And so this fact, the fact that the defendant, Ramsay, aggressively is disparaging Bong Bong, the victim, while supposedly pursuing a settlement, proves that settlement is not intended for a genuine dispute resolution, which is what the Korean system is going for. It's merely a strategy to try to get out of being punished. He only cares about the consequences. He doesn't actually care that he did something wrong.
There's lots of people like that. There's a lot of people that only care about the consequences, which is why we need to enforce consequences. I don't want a ton of people in jail. I don't want people to be punished, right? Like I want to be able to have understanding for people. It would be great if people were all upstanding citizens and we didn't need jails. But the fact of the matter is, there is lots of people in society that will not behave if there are not consequences for it. And that's what we've seen as we've gone very soft on crime in many places in the US. We see that people start behaving like animals. We need those structures in place and we need them enforced. Just bringing somebody before Congress or whatever and giving them a stern talking to and not actually putting them in jail doesn't fix things. I know that's a little bit different when it's somebody going before Congress, probably somebody a bit higher up than kind of your random person on the streets. But the point is, people will not fix their behavior unless there are consequences for it. I love positive reinforcement. Positive reinforcement's great. I will do so much if my wife offers me a piece of cake. Oh my word. So much work will get done if I get a piece of cake at the end. Let me tell you. But some people need the stick as well. Some people need that negative reinforcement or they will not behave. They won't do the basic things in society that they shouldn't be getting positively enforced for.
So it's an act which directly contradicts the essence of the victim's restitution and social reconciliation pursued by the settlement in criminal justice procedures. This settlement is not intended for the protection of the victim or the realization of justice, but is merely a strategic measure by RKI to minimize his criminal disadvantages. Given the defendant's continued antisocial behavior and attitude of contempt of justice, a settlement should not be used as grounds to prove his remorse or possibility of social reintegration. Rather, it should be regarded as a factor which aggravates his responsibility. Even his guilty plea is a lie. And we'll put this up here too, because I want to show you guys, Johnny, not only trivializes crimes, but he just doesn't believe in apologies.
Like
My
time
lawyer
served
told
works
me
in
it's a
three-
fucking joke. My lawyer told me this is all a joke. The lawyer said not
yeah.
from the beginning. My
I
lawyer
know
told
that,
me not
but
Okay, if that's true, then he really does have a terrible lawyer.
in jail. Spilling noodle, playing music, carrying a fish. It's not if I was a real criminal, I'll be in jail right now. Why bro? I could go outside and go carry a fish tomorrow. Again, I can go on the bus and go twerk and play music right now.
That is very much a not true statement, right? Because that's how all criminals are handled in Korea, where they're held outside of prison before their sentencing date. That's very normal. The process is the punishment. You have to pay your own costs, pay your own food, pay everything else. So that was on him. And we all know that he had to borrow money from Hank, right? But we can see.
My understanding is that while he was there, he was running out of money. And waiting for all of the trial stuff to go through. He was ordered not to work. Like, he was ordered that he was not able to stream anymore. And he's done that anyways. That's my understanding, is that he was supposed to not be working or making money in Korea. But he's done it anyways. So yeah, why should the Korean people have to be paying for your room and board? that's part of the deal. You messed up, dude.
That there's no actual genuine remorse from this guy, because actually he doesn't believe in apologizing. And he's got this other clip where he talks about this and just says, hey, look, I don't even believe in apologizing.
He does have problem with apologizing, actually.
Not only to you personally, but everybody in the world, I would say.
Pretty much, yeah.
I always tell Hank, like, it's not just, I don't want to apologize to you when I do something wrong. I don't want to apologize to fucking anybody. Maybe it's part of my personality. Maybe even my own family has called me very selfish. I remember my father when I was like 6 years old, 7 years old, 6, 7 years old. My own father was like Ramsay, you are a very callous individual. That's something that stuck with me. I remember that my whole life. Like 6, 7 years old, my dad like, you were very callous. I've had maybe a problem with empathizing with people.
Yes.
Not being able to understand other people's feelings.
So that's it. So he's pretty much said, hey, I'm not.
Maybe he needs to talk to iDubbbz, learn that empathy. Might not be too late for him yet.
I'm not apologizing. I'm not apologizing to anybody. I don't apologize to anybody, right? Like, that's part of who he is. That's part of his character. That's part of what he is. So, you know, him even saying he's guilty doesn't come with sincerity, right? It doesn't come with that necessarily element. So this case goes beyond the personal crimes of the defendant, Ramsay Kaleed Ismael. It is a challenge to the South Korean judicial system and social order. It is a serious matter attracting the attention of the international community. Citizens around the world, including foreigners currently residing in Korea, are watching the outcome of this trial with concern. In particular, those classified as nuisance streamers, like the defendant, are closely watching the verdict. If the defendant is not severely punished, it will set a dangerous precedent for streamers in Korea and other countries who intend to commit similar crime.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I was saying earlier, that for the sake of Korea, I hope you guys put a harsh sentence on him so that you don't have more people coming and doing this.
The defendant's actions are not merely legal violations. He blatantly disregarded the laws and social norms of the Republic of Korea through creating anxiety in public, racial insults, sexual harassment, contempt for the judicial system, and persistent harassment of victims. Furthermore, he profited from these acts by turning them into content and spread messages to his fandom glorifying crime. If such behavior ends with a simple fine or light punishment, it will incentivize similar streamers to commit crimes not only in Korea, but also in other countries. Accordingly, that's why we're asking the court to give strict consideration to exclude the settlement as grounds for sentence reduction, give a substantial prison sentence, and exclude any suspended sentence and imposition of imprisonment. Last but not least, there's one clip that I just have to leave you with Johnny's lessons learned. This is what Johnny took away from all of this.
Oh gosh, here we go.
I turned 25 recently. I feel like my brain has matured a little bit. I'm just gonna do my DGen shit off camera. Like, that's just a better way to do things. Like,
that's what you do. It's what everyone else does.
That's how they caught Diddy and Epstein. They taking photos and video of everything. They like to record everything. Stupid. I'm stupid too. Why am I going live doing this crazy shit?
There you have it. Johnny Somali saying that he is just going to continue to be a degenerate no matter what, to continue to do things that are criminal no matter what, with absolutely zero remorse, zero looking back, zero consideration at all, period. I want to know what you guys think about our case against Somali, about some of the evidence, the strategy, what we submitted, and I will talk to you on the next one.
Well, again, I'm not a lawyer. I think a lot of the stuff that you've submitted is really good stuff. You have I think, a very compelling case for why he is not remorseful and should not meet those requirements for the suspended sentencing or whatever it was called. Man, I don't know what to say about Johnny Somali and about this. I genuinely hope that Johnny Somali is about to be hit with the FO stage of the FAFO. Oh no, you've ended up in my den. You must think that this is the end, but you have no need to fret. There's still more to come yet. Click on subscribe to let YouTube know just how far this channel should go. More will come later, or if you so need, click on another video to see more of me in your feed.